In chess, the Sicilian Dragon is one of the most dynamic ways to play with black. So, first question, what is the Sicilian Dragon? e4, c5, we have the Sicilian, knight f3, d6. Now white goes for the open, d4, take with the knight f6, you attack the pawn, knight c3, defend the pawn, and now g6. This is the reason it's called the Sicilian Dragon. If we look at the pawn structure, it looks like a dragon. First up, I want to start by looking at a few opening traps. So in this position, let's say white goes bishop e3 and knight g4. Do not play this move, even though this move looks alright because you are attacking the bishop. White now has a winning move with bishop b5 check. This move loses because you are now in a cross pin. So if you play bishop d7, you can now take the knight. Bishop cannot take the queen because it is pinned. And if you take the bishop, then you are just a piece down. If you block this way, well, you lose the rook in the corner. Take, check, and then the rook drops. So this is one opening trap to not fall into. Let's look at another opening trap. So we take it from here, the dragon, but this time they play f4. This is called the Levenfish variation. They get 2 pawns in the center, and I don't blame anyone for going for this trap because the most obvious move for black is also one of the worst moves you could play. Bishop g7. This move doesn't look battered, or because you're just getting your bishop out. But now white goes e5, and if you take, you're in big trouble already. Take, knight g4. Knight and bishop attack the pawn, bishop defends the knight, but now you are losing again because of this idea, bishop b5 check. If you block, we have this cross pin idea again. And the worst thing is, if you move the king, you lose straight away, thanks to a brilliant move, knight e6 check. So already, there are a few opening traps you do not want to fall into when you play this very aggressive opening. So going back to this position, we are going to look at how you are going to handle the Levenfish. So we're going to take it from here, f4, knight c6. This is the key move I want you to remember. Don't go bishop g7. Play knight c6 first because you're controlling the e5 square twice with the pawn and the knight. If they take, you're fine. e5. Now, a key move is knight d7. You don't want to go for this because the queens are now off. So, don't go for it. We can tuck the knight back to d7. Putting pressure on the central pawn, let's say they take, bishop out, and bishop out this time here. Can't go bishop g7 because you lose your pawn. So we're going to get the bishop out this time to e7. Queen d2, the knight can come to f6 to control e4. Bishop can come out as well, and we castle. And then after this, bishop to e6. And black has a great position. 2 bishops facing the king, the queen can come out to a5, the rook can come to b8. By the way, just going back 2 moves, white can't play bishop c4 because you just hit the bishop for free. Then this bishop can come out f5, g4, the queen once again can come out to a5. Going back to this position, after knight c6, if they play bishop c4, I want you to challenge this knight straight away with queen b6. Getting the queen out early, and now notice the queen is off the d-file. Let's say they move the knight away, and now bishop g7, and now we're good. We can play this. e5, attacking the knight, but black is the one who is attacking white, because after take, knight g4, and we're in. Knight and queen threaten checkmate on f2. And also, knight, bishop are attacking the e5 pawn. Next setup I want to show you is my surprising suggestion. It's not the most common way to play with the dragon. So we take it from here again, take, open Sicilian, and we get the dragon. Bishop e3, bishop g7, and after f3, white is ready to castle queenside. This is called the Yugoslav attack. And you can stop white playing g4 with h5. A surprising suggestion. Normally black can just castle, and we play from here. But h5 will be the main topic, the main purpose of this video. The point is you stop white playing their normal move g4 to get a quick attack. You control the g4 square with a pawn, knight and bishop. So how can play continue? Queen d2, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop d7, castle, and now rook c8. Typical move in the Dragon, put the rook on the c file, the bishop can move back to b3, and when the bishop is on the square you have the option of queen a5, knight a5 as well to attack the bishop, h3, planning to go g4, and one way to play is h4. You can take the bishop, they take back, throw the queen out to a5, and now h4, and we have this creative option coming up. The point of h4 is you stop white getting in their typical play with g4 because you can now en passant. Rook e1, rook h5, creative rook swing, which I'm going to talk about more later. f4, if they play a move like f4, this pawn was defending the center pawn, but now you can crash through with a typical sacrifice in the Dragon, which I'm going to show again later. There's another cool example coming up where white castles kingside. When they play f4, you can now sacrifice a rook for a knight. Take, 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 and now knight takes e4. So you've given up a rook, but you've got a monster knight in the center and a pawn for it, and you can support your knight with f5. e5 coming next. The bishop can come out to c6. I really like black's position. Here we go again. So let's take it from here. Knight a5. To come into c4 is an option. To take the bishop is an option as well because this bishop is very strong. Let's say they go h3, planning g4. Now we go h4. Now f4, a little bit different. We are going to get our rook in. I only discovered this thanks to a subscriber for suggesting to look at the Dragon. Rook h5 is a very interesting rook swing. What a cool idea coming up. Now white needs to get a breakthrough going. The cool thing about this line, if we talk about the psychology, is that normally black has the king. On the king side, it's castled, but the king is in the middle at the moment, so maybe your opponents are not so sure how to play, how to attack you. Knight f3, retreating the knight and trying to come through with e5. Let's get rid of the bishop and rook a5. What a cool rook swing. King b1 to stop it, and now rook a6. So rook h8 to h5 to a5 to a6, and now this queen can come out. So if white tries to strike through the center, because white has to do something, the cool thing is you ignore it for one move. I'm so glad a subscriber suggested to analyze the Dragon, or else I would never have ever come up with this line. With assistance from the engine. Queen a5. You don't move the knight, because queen a5 and now you threaten checkmate. Have you ever seen anything like this? I mean, look at this. How on earth did a rook get there when the king is still there? It hasn't even castled. Up, over, back, queen comes in, mate. Wow. Knight a4, you stop the mate, but when the queens come off, black now gets a wonderful position. Take, take, knight e4. Monster knight in the middle, just like we saw before, and threatening a fork. And black has a wonderful position. Looks like the center is collapsing. The bishop can come out as well here. The bishop can actually take the knight as well, get a pawn back that way as well. So lots of dynamic options for black in this line, in this incredible rook swing of a line. Let's take it from here. So we have h5 again, knight c6, bishop d7 and rook c8. So maybe you don't want to swing your rook over because maybe you forgot what I said in this video. So you could just play a normal way, which is queen a5. Bear this move in mind. You can swing your queen out to a5 when there's a bishop on b3 because the knight cannot attack it. King b1, knight e5, and let me explain every arrow. Knight can come into c4. So let's say you play a normal move like this, and then this trade can happen. Knight for bishop. If we go back 2 moves, black can go a6, b5 to get space on the queen side. Just like before, h4, we are going to stop white playing g4 because we have this en passant idea again. And black can even castle. Because the point of this line is to confuse your opponent a little bit. You haven't castled yet, so maybe they are not confident how best to play this position. Let's go for another line, but this time they castle kingside. And they play bishop c4, bishop g7, castle, castle, and now bishop back to b3. Very sensible way to play. Knight c6, and white later wants to put the bishop on e3 to defend the knight, so they go h3. And now you can go bishop d7, and the bishop e3, queen a5. Can you see? I mean, it's basically the same setup I showed before, if you put the queen out to a5. And the reason this is possible is because there is no knight retreating move to hit the queen. So in this position, how to continue with black? Rook c8 is possible, rook e8 is possible as well, and I'm going to show you why. There is an opening trap, there's a tactic coming up. The knight can come to e5 to c4, and if the bishop takes it, the rook can take it as well. And we can get our pawns rolling a6, b5. So opening trap coming up, yes, rook e1, rook c8. Let's put this into action. Queen d2, and now if you blunder with knight e5. This tactic is something to watch out for when you play the dragon. White now has a winning move, knight d5. It's not winning. It wins a pawn if you trade queens, because knight takes e7 is a check, intermezzo. In between move, the king moves out of the way, and now you can get your queen back. So in order to not fall for any of this, when your opponent plays queen d2, because the queens are now really facing each other, you go rook e8. Defend the pawn, because this doesn't work anymore, because you take. And it is white who's the one who's losing. He can't trade queens. Take, check, maybe you trade knights, take, and this is the problem. White has to get the queen back, but is going to drop a knight. Black is winning. Let's take it from the top. I have to cover this option because the subscriber mentioned it. They were not sure after e4, c5 what to do if b3. And the cool thing is, because in this video we are a Sicilian Dragon player, we play g6. But what happens if bishop b2 attacking the rook? It doesn't matter, knight f6. This is a dynamic option, and I have played like this with black. If they go e5, not to worry, knight d5. e6, not to worry. You just go f6, and after take, you're fine. Bishop g7, and you can castle next. Going back a few moves, knight d5, if they attack you, knight b6, attack the bishop. They have to go back, and then bishop g7, and we can play from here. We can go d6 to break up the structure, knight c6, castle, we are good. One other option I want to talk about is after bishop b2, knight f6, they go knight c3. And now we can go bishop g7 or d6, same thing. Bishop g7 is fine because if e5, the knight can actually sit well on h5, it can come in the center. The knight is not trapped. So why do white players play like this? They might want to go for this shot, but it's not really a shot because, I mean, there's nothing for white. Let's just castle. Take, take. Bishop out, d6. Knight e2, f5. This is why there's nothing for white. You are going to undouble your pawns. You offer a trade, and black is fine. If you take, then the bishop can come out, and then the rook can go to e8, queen f6, knight c6. We're good. We are good. Let's go for this. So we have the Sicilian, but they play c3. Very popular way to play, also known as the Alpine Sicilian. We are going to stick with being a dragon player. g6. d4. Take, take, d5. If they play e5, now we play bishop g7 and knight h6. The knight can come to f5. Later you want to go for f6 as a pawn break to break up their structure. The knight can come to c6 and you can castle. Going back a few moves, one other way to play is if they take, but this isn't the best way to play. e5 is stronger for white. because after this you are really shutting out this bishop. But what if they take? Then you just go knight f6. You get your pawn back. Bishop g7 castle, we're good. If they check you, block with the knight. Bishop g7 castle, and then you can find a way to get your pawn back later. Knight f3, bishop g7, castle, castle. This pawn is going to drop. Have I covered every single line? No, but I feel like I've covered most of the lines. Thanks to a subscriber for suggesting the Sicilian Dragon. Please give this video a like because it really does help out the channel. I'm building a community, so if you guys have any openings, gambits, you want to see me cover, then let me know in the comments below. If you want your games analysed, then post them below. I will see what I can do and they can go into future videos. If you guys want to stick around, I've got a couple of videos over here. How to beat the Budapest Gambit. Thanks for watching.